And so I've had this little voice going, who do you think you are? We have that imposter syndrome sometimes. And I'm like, seriously, who do I think I am? But what I've got to the point is I've got to own what I bring to the project.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 313. And today I've got a powerful and inspiring episode as we discover how to develop emotional intelligence in our future leaders. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hi there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier for expert-based business owners. And today, I have one of my best friends joining me in the conversation today. And I'm really excited to illuminate something that she's been working on for many years. It's one of those big, bold goals to change the world, and she's doing it. And I can't wait to share how it's impacting our future leaders. Before we jump in, let's just talk about bold goals. As impact-driven entrepreneurs, we have no shortage of grandiose ideas and bold goals that could change the world, that could change us. And yet there's a real dearth of results. Like a lot of times we get frustrated and we lose momentum and we don't see results. And then we give up on these bold goals. And oftentimes that's because we don't have a framework in place to really pull off those goals. And one of the things that I have used over and over and over again is my 7-step framework to add another 6 figures. Now, you can use this framework to grow visibility. You can also use this framework to really get clear on how to package, position, and move out into the world something that feels so much bigger than you. So if you do not have it yet, I want you to go right now to amplifywithmelanie.com and download this very valuable clarity and confidence boosting framework that's going to help you achieve things that you never knew were possible by using all 7 of the frameworks plus 2 bonus tips. Again, head on over to amplifywithmelanie.com and you can download it absolutely free as my gift to you. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back, Amplifiers. We had a really powerful conversation lined up today. Let me introduce my dear friend, Natalie Ledwell. We're going to be talking about how to develop emotional intelligence in our next generation. Now, let me give you a little background on Dame Natalie Ledwell. She is a best-selling author, host of the podcast Not Over, Just Different, co-host of cable TV show Wake Up, and founder of Mind Movies, the hugely successful and revolutionary online personal development company that has reached over 10 million people worldwide. Right now, she is launching her groundbreaking social and emotional learning curriculum entitled Personal Growth Studies into schools here in the U.S., which is designed to empower youth from ages 5 to 18 years to live fulfilling and successful lives with high self-esteem and a vision for a bright future. Now, I could go on and on and on about Natalie, but I also just have to say she is one of the most extraordinary women I have ever known and is a really, really close and dear friend of mine. And Natalie, I'm so excited to have you join me today.
Yeah, darling. Well, I always love being with you and I love chatting with you. And today we get to share that conversation. So that's pretty cool.
I know. That's always like my great hope for the podcast is that I get to share some of the extraordinary conversations I would have, like sitting with somebody, having a drink of wine or a cup of coffee or whatever, and we get to share it in a bigger way. And, we met really around the world of personal development and entrepreneurship. That was kind of threw us both into a space together. I actually think the very first time we met, we were on a dance floor very late at night at a charity function, if I remember correctly.
That
And
sounds
two
about, that
people
sounds like me. Yeah.
Yes, and there was somebody that took one of us by the hand and like dragged us on the dance floor together and said, "You two have to meet." And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course. I now know why we have to meet." So very glad that I don't even remember who that was, but it was a great moment for me. I want to start by going back a little bit in your journey around personal development. I would love if you shared how you came to be in personal development and what was like the catalyst that got you on that path?
Yeah. Well, I was first introduced to personal development before I knew such a thing existed when I was 21. One of my bosses handed me a set of cassettes by Brian Tracy. And so I think you should listen to these. And at the time, I was driving this 1972 Corolla, and it was orange. It was called the baked bean because it looked like a baked bean. And I would play these cassettes over and over and over in my car every time I was driving. And when I don't know if you remember the first time you picked up a book or listened to a tape or a seminar or something, and and you just go, oh, where is this book on my life? It was kind of one of those moments. And that set of cassettes really helped me to mend my relationship with my mother, to really see life in a very positive way. I was a pretty ambitious kind of person anyway, but it really helped me to hone that ambition and funnel it in a way that was really productive. Like I started managing fitness clubs when I was 21 years old, and a lot of it was to do with this personal development. And of course, the bosses I worked for at the time in the fitness industry, they would send their teams to Jim Rohn and Tom Hopkins and Tony Robbins. So I got to cut my business teeth on other people's business while they were investing a lot of money in me by sending me to all these seminars and retreats and everything, which was amazing. And of course, then after that, I met my husband. We got married. We bought a nightclub. And I was able to, even in such a volatile kind of an industry, be able to apply everything I learned in fitness as well as all the personal development, strategies and goal setting and things like that that I had learned before. So fast forward to 2006. I'm, sitting at my desk, having a monumental moment of frustration, thinking, what the hell is going on? I've got all these bills. I've got no money in the bank or little money in the bank, and I'm running 4 businesses at the same time. I'm like, this is crazy. And then someone suggested that I watch The Secret or go online or the DVD, get it sent. And I don't know how I missed the law of attraction. I've read Think and Grow Rich several times. It's like, how did I miss this piece? So, and then everyone's talking about manifesting and visualizing and so forth. So a friend of ours came to Glen and I and to approach us to go into business with him. And he had come up with this brilliant little idea of being able to, rather than doing a static vision board where you cut out photos from magazines of the car you want, the house you want, the vacation, so people would look at these boards and then imagine themselves on that vacation or driving that car. He created a little slideshow, which was like PowerPoint slides with affirmations, photos that matched the affirmations, and music. So it was this dynamic, fun little movie that he'd created that was his vision board. And so he's like, let's go into business together. Let's help put the instructions up so people around the world can make these videos. And, at the time we had 4 businesses. Glen could hardly turn on a computer. That was my husband at the time. And I hadn't even heard of YouTube. And we spent no time on the internet. So we started from there, and then built this incredible empire that we have today.
Yeah, so The Secret, I think, was such an instrumental part of so many people's law of attraction wake-up call. And I know that, you guys have created a very successful company now with Mind Movies. Well, what was the moment where you knew it had to be more than just teaching people how to use the law of attraction? Like, what was that surge in you or that clarity moment where you're like, there's something more I'm supposed to be doing with all this?
So when I worked in the fitness industry, I really felt like I was in a career that I was making a difference. So not only was I personally working with people and helping them with their fitness goals and to get healthy and all of that, but, I was speaking on stages at the age of 24, educating club owners from all over Australia on how to structure their business, how to manage their teams, at a really young age. So I was at the top of my game and I felt amazing, felt I was making a difference. And then we bought a nightclub and I'm like, sideways, going for a little bit there. And I kind of, after we sold the nightclub, which was successful and we did a great job with it, it was hard work. It aged us 10 years. We went through this period of time that I call my beige years. And I call them beige because beige is such a nothing color. It's just, we had all these different businesses, but we were just going through the motions. And yes, we had some financial success, and then we'd have some moments like I had in 2006. And so it's like we were just, going through life. But once we set up this, we put a little video on YouTube that talked about, the law of attraction and mind movies. And I think we were charging $20 because we didn't know what to charge because it was just video instructions. Like, it's like, what do you charge for this? We didn't know what we were doing. But within a few months, we had that many emails coming in from people going, this has changed my life. I remember feeling this thing waking up in me like I felt when I used to work in fitness. Like, ooh, we're making a difference here. This is we need to focus on this. Like, how do we figure out this internet marketing thing? Like, how do you do this? And that's when we got really committed, boots and all, and committed everything to be able to launch Mind Movies to the world. And of course, from there, it's like, okay, well, this is one piece of the puzzle. This is the visualization piece, but you need to know the whole formula. You need to know all the steps. And so that's when we started creating the coaching programs, and we have meditations, and we have such a huge bank of products, but they're all designed to help you to apply the law of attraction and to apply manifestation reliably every single time. Because that's my little trick, my gift, is that I can look at something because I really think in structure and linear, and I can break it down into very actionable steps that anyone can emulate.
So at what point did you know you needed to bring this work to the kids program? What was that catalyst for you?
Yeah, so because I make a mind movie myself every year. And, at the beginning of the year, I'll go, these are the things I want to, do. So I did one for 1 year. The next year I sit down to make the mind movie again and realize I hadn't done anything or created anything that I had in that mind movie. And I'm thinking, all right, it's because I've got too much in there. I can't do all of this. As entrepreneurs, we wear many hats and we go, oh, I can do this and I could do this. And I had, a TV show. I had a book that I was writing, and I had the kids program, and of course, mind movies. So I'm like, well, it's not going to be the kids program because, I'm not qualified, and, that's not I don't know what to do there. But TV show, that's pretty sexy. I think I'll do that. And then, of course, 2 days later, a girlfriend of mine who has 2 master's degrees, has worked with kids with trauma, reached out to me and goes, listen, we've got to do something to help these kids. I'm like, all right. So it looks like it's the kids program because the universe went, nope, this is what you're doing. I'm like, okay. And the signs and the assistance and the help and support from the universe has been so great throughout this whole process because, between you and I don't know if I know exactly what I'm doing, but every time I need the next piece of the puzzle, someone comes in or something shows up that helps me to get through that next piece. So a couple of times I have tried to walk away, but universe is like, nope, this is yours. Here you go. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
I guess that's when you really know you're on purpose, right? It's like you try to walk away from it. You try to close the door on it. You try to do all the other things, and it won't let you go.
Yeah. And the reason I want to walk away is because it's hard. Like, it's hard. And most of all the other things I've been able to create in my life, I mean, launching Mind Movies was hard as well. But, I'm in my 50s now. It's like, do I really want to work this? I'm like, I do, but I don't. I do, but I don't. But no. And what really does keep me going is I remember back in the beginning, when I was deciding, should I do this kids program? Should I not? I remember reading an article about a 10-year-old girl who had committed suicide because she was being bullied at school. And I'm like, this is just unacceptable. Like, I know I can make a difference here. Like, I know I can do something to help, So yeah, it was one of those moments. And I keep thinking, like, the situation is so terrible right now. Suicides are out of control and kids are getting younger and younger. And we're seeing all these behavioral issues that we've never seen before, because of the pandemic. Some kids handled working remotely fantastically well and others fantastically terribly. It's been a challenge. Some kids really couldn't wait to get back to school, and other kids didn't want to get out of the car, and then we have parents who have been in high stress for 2 years, really concerned about the safety of their kids and the health of their children. So they're showing up in a different way. And then, of course, teachers are copying all of it right now, and they're resigning in droves. So it's we're in the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
But there's always the way through. And I think something like personal growth studies gives everyone involved, parents, teachers, and students, tools and methods to be able to, handle their own emotions, how to regulate their emotions, and how to really show up from a place of grounded confidence. It's pretty cool.
Let's unpack this a little bit more because, I've had an inside ear to what you're bringing to the world, but just to bring the rest of our community up to speed, like, what is the program and what are you bringing out to kids? And I'm really curious why you picked schools as the vehicle to bring, the work. You're like, 'cause I'm crazy? I don't know.
Yes. Oh, I've thought that many times. It just from the very beginning, Debbie, who's my partner in this, our vision was, to give teachers tools to be able to teach students, so that they, can give them, the lessons that we have. I mean, yes, we have yoga and we have meditation, but we have gratitude, we have empathy, we have self-esteem and self-love. We have the definition of beauty. For the younger kids, it's all about how do you regulate your emotions. And then for the older kids, it's like, well, what are your personal standards? Who are you? And how are you going to show up in situations like, being offered drugs or, seeing someone being bullied, and getting them to really think about not just who they are, but how they want the world to see them. And then how to operate from that. And for all of the lessons that we have, I mean, students are coming up with their own methods, their own systems. We're like, okay, here's a whole lot of choice, but you come up with your own system so that that when this happens, that this is what you'll do. So we've got all of that in there. And we have support for the teachers, of course. But the cool thing is, being a technology company, which is one of the hats that we wear, we've been able to create this, awesome way of delivering the curriculum to the teachers. So they just have to press play and watch a video with the class and lead them through the exercise. But we have a student portal so that kids can log in, the students log in, they can access their lessons and their workbooks inside the portal. They also have what we call a wellness check-in. So it comes as a pop-up once a week. So they check in to let us know how they're feeling, how they're coping, what's happening with school. So it gives the teachers and the counselors a really great snapshot of what's happening within their class and who might be struggling, so they can come in with some, the right kind of intervention. But the coolest little thing that we have is this AI technology, this voice recognition technology. It's called Vibonics. And so kids will talk into their device for 15 seconds and it actually measures the emotions that they're feeling at the time. So it's going to be great to be able to compare what they're telling us and what we're measuring. But again, it's, there are so many kids that are struggling right now that teachers and counselors are finding it really difficult to keep up and to see every single student. And this way it gives them an opportunity to be able to see anyone who is struggling at a quick glance so they can go in and help where they really need to.
I think it was you that said one time that, and maybe this is an Australian saying, but you said something like, um, like you say yes to something really big and then you chew like hell to like figure it out as you go. How does the saying go? Because I'm butchering
I
it,
just
I
bite
know.
off more than I can chew, then I just chew like hell.
Well, here's what we've had many conversations about bold goals, and like this is certainly a big bold goal, and it's something like you've trusted that there's something that you are saying yes to that is so much bigger than you.
Yeah.
And holding that vision meant you had to accept help and support and like guidance and get resources in very unique ways. Like, what do you think has been the biggest stretch for you in saying yes to this goal?
Getting over my own small voice. I was on a Zoom call at one stage with Debbie, who's my partner, a girlfriend of mine, Susan Buttinger, who's part of a group with me, a transformational led group, and then two professors. So, we started off the call and I goes, well, let's introduce ourselves. And everyone's telling me, this is my master's and this is my degrees and this is my blah, blah, blah. And then it gets to me and I'm like, well, I left school when I was 15 and so I've had this little voice going, who do you think you are? We have that imposter syndrome sometimes. And I'm like, seriously, who do I think I am? But what I've got to the point is I've got to own what I bring to the project. Like this technology platform wouldn't exist without us, right? Without my movies. And, even in meditation a couple of months ago, what came through my meditation was, Natalie, it's you. It's how passionate you are. It's the way that you speak. It's the way that you think differently to everyone else. It's you. You're the magic source. This is why you have this. Because I keep thinking, oh no, it's not me. But I have to sit in there and own that as well. So it's easy to get caught up in the I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not good enough. I'm not qualified enough. So I had to get past that, and really step into what I do bring. And it's funny because, you'll have friends like you that go, what do you mean? If anyone can make this happen, you can make it happen. But if you listen to that small voice too much, then I don't even hear what you're saying. I'm just, stuck over here. So it's been, the pandemic in a way was a great opportunity for me to really go deep with my own, with myself and to pull out all the bits and pieces that I need to release so that I can become the person that I need to be to hold the space for such a huge project.
So the other thing I know is that you mentioned actually when we were in the green room, and I was laughing to myself because I'm like, yes, you've started this new project in your late 40s, now moving into your 50s, and I'm curious, like, what is that like? Like again, like the mindset, like who do you have to shift into being to put what I think is really like a legacy mission? This is like a legacy mission that you're in.
Yeah. Well, remember when we started Mind Movies, I was 40 and they only used a computer for bookkeeping. I still only type with like 6 fingers. So I didn't have any experience. And so I was so outside my comfort zone. And at 40, you're still thinking, wait, wow, I'm learning all this new stuff. And it was great. And luckily, what I was learning was manifestation and all of that. So I've gathered enough evidence over the last 12 years working with my movies to know that, you're right. If anyone can make this happen, I can make it happen. And not me per se, but the way that I'm able to leverage the universe and the divine and bring people in. And I knew that. But again, it's like what I was alluding to before. It's like, oh, but I'm in my 50s now. It's like, maybe it's time I oscillate between I'd really like to just retire and just have fun and, have a great time. And then I'm like, but kids need help. And I know that I can make a difference here. So I kind of go between the two. But I think this time it's like when we started Mind Movies, we had to do everything ourselves. We had no money. We were just, existing on fumes. But this time, at least I have that knowledge, and I have an amazing team. So that really does help a lot. And I just seem to be able to attract the right people at the right time. And sometimes I attract people even when I don't realize I need them. They come in, I'm like, oh, excellent. I didn't even know that was going to be my next step. Great. So I'm, very much in tune with all of that. And I try to forget the 50, or I don't put any meaning to it. Sometimes we look at our parents when they were 15, they were on the, downhill slope. They were slowing down. And honestly, I feel like I'm just getting started. And I am with this project. I am just getting started. And that
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, we don't have to do it ourselves, right? And it's like, I
Right.
think the older we get, the wiser we get, the more we recognize these are not boulders we're meant to push up a hill all by ourselves. Like that boulder moves faster when we are a collective group of people that are going to move things together,
Yeah,
and or you use leverage, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And so, I was kind of curious, this being such a big goal and there being so many pieces to it where you're like, wow, I have no idea. Like, this is new. Like, this is not my thing. For the listeners, a part of our audience who are sitting on a bold goal, sitting on a big dream, and they keep smashing it down. They keep getting distracted with 7,000 other projects and, entrepreneurial, bright, shiny ideas. What is the one thing you've learned through this process that that person might need to hear today to really move that goal forward?
Yeah. Well, as I was saying earlier, like as entrepreneurs, we're capable people. We can do a lot of different things. And so my mantra that I started at the beginning of 2020, and then all of a sudden the world assisted me in this, was just because I can doesn't mean I should. And, like that moment that I realized when I was just carrying everything over in my mind moving, I'm like, I need to choose a lane. I need to pick one thing that I can put all of my focus into, and something that I know that I can actually move the needle on. Now, kids is like, I don't know in the beginning why I thought I could do that, but obviously, as things have unfolded, that's how it's unfolding, and it's going to make a massive difference. But I just had to choose one. So, you've got to think about what is the one thing that, like I said, I could have done the TV show because that to me was a sexy choice. But it's not fulfilling. It's not legacy. It's not, something that I think will make the difference that the kids program could. That's why when, Debbie reached out to me, I was like, whoop, okay, kids program. And like I knew straight away when she said that, I'm like, okay, I heard you. Here we go.
Yeah. And, we've danced around this a little bit here and there, but I'd love if we just brought it into like this moment. Like, what is your great hope? What is the impact that you believe is possible when we bring these resources to the teachers and to the kids in schools? Like, paint the picture for us.
Yeah. Well, for starters, the kids will be optimistic about the future. And when you can go through life from a place of confidence and self-esteem, then you're not just looking at the problem, you're coming up with ways to solve the problem. You look at life with so much energy and passion, and you also have an incredible social network around you. So, I think that the planet is kind of at this place where we're in this kind of sticking point right now. We're as polarized as we've ever been. So, teaching students and kids how to sit in those kind of conversations, even though you may not agree with the other person, but still be able to sit in that conversation is going to be huge. And that's just something else that we teach as well. It's like, how do you do that? And so I'm looking at some really well-adjusted, kids. Like, we're not saying that every child will be, without issues, because we all have something. We'll have some kind of programming from our past, but they will be happier. They will be healthier, and they will have like an energy for the future and optimism for the future. That's really what I'm working towards.
So if you could wave the magic wand and get one magical resource or level of support to drop in, what would it be?
Definitely a contact with a school or a school district. At the moment, we are starting to have talks with 3 different school districts in Texas, which is really amazing and awesome and fantastic. But if anyone has, students at school or know a school that are looking for a program like this, if you could reach out to me, that would be awesome. Natalie at mindmovies.com, that email will come straight through to me. And if you'd like to find out more about the program, you could just go to personalgrowthstudies.com, and that'll give you a whole bunch of information about that too.
Well, I know that a big spark behind all of this, and one of the things that have just made, like, it's, I guess we would call it a tool that makes all this possible for you, is the mind movies. If somebody wanted to find out more about mind movies, which I absolutely love, it's one of my favorite resources that is a part of the law of attraction and manifesting tool set that I use. But how could people find out more about that too?
Yeah, well, I recommend that you go to mindmovies.com/amplify. So on that page, you can actually download 6 pre-made mind movies. So these movies are already done for you, and they're on things like building confidence and wealth and health and relationships. And number 1, it gives you a very clear idea of what a mind movie is. And number 2, it also gives you a starting point for you to get a little clearer about what wealth represents for you, what confidence looks like for you, or what health looks like, so that you can be much clearer, especially when you're, moving forward, using the law of attraction, visualizing about what that looks like for you, because we all have a different version of that. And with the mind movies, you can download them directly to your computer. You can save them to your device. You can watch them on the go. They're a really fun, cool little way to get yourself into a vibrational alignment, with the theme of whatever that mind movie is.
I love it. And so I want to say, if you're listening in right now, when you go and get the mind movies tools, I want you to go make your first mind movie and then tag Natalie and I in it on your favorite social media platforms and share it with us. We want to celebrate your mind movie wins there as you go. That'd be fun.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for putting that together too and making it so easy for people. Okay, so this is the part of the conversation where I get to have some get to know Natalie in a bigger way, but we've already done that somewhat. So I'm very curious to see how you answer these. What is the boldest thing you've ever done to grow the reach of your work in the world? You're like, how many bold things can I talk about in one statement? I'm asking the queen of bold action here. What's the boldest thing?
And you know what? I think it was the decision to come to the US. Our first year, we left behind our mortgages, our dogs, our life, and came over here with credit cards and, joined a mastermind group that we couldn't afford and, really worked our butts off. And, we racked up 120 grand on credit cards just to get Mind Movies launched to the world. And the story that landed in September 2008 when everyone's losing their homes and their jobs and their shirts. And we ended up doing a $700,000 week. So it paid off, but we had put everything on the line for that.
Was that blind faith, or was that really using the tools?
Well, no. Well, the smartest thing we did was join that mastermind because we had enough people. We surrounded ourselves with enough people who knew exactly what they were doing, who kept telling us, you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing. They were giving us the right advice and the right support. So we knew we were onto something, and even when we, our pre-launch week, our list went from 8,000 to 80,000. And Frank Kern was the guy that was running that mastermind. And he said, guys, even if everything falls to crap next week, when you open up your shopping cart, you've got an 80,000 list. You've now got a business. So, even then it was like, we were like, but we've got 120 grand on credit card. But, it the people that you surround yourself with is of critical importance, you know.
I would agree with that 100%. And you said two things that I think are so important. You said you invested in a mastermind, you invested in guidance,
Yeah.
but you also took action. And I want to just reinforce how important those two pieces have to go together, because
Yeah.
you can invest in the most expensive, exquisite masterminds and coaches, but if you're not taking that action, it still isn't going to work. And you guys are just so masterful at doing both. And it's been such an amazing journey to watch you guys take off and serve so many people with this great resource that you've built. Last question.
Yeah.
What is one thing you wish you would have done sooner?
God, I don't know. I actually cannot answer that question.
Oh, wow. I thought you would actually go in a certain direction with that. So now I got to ask a second question to that.
Okay.
Is there one thing when it popped for you, you're like, why did I wait so long? Or when you saw the benefits that would emerge from it?
I don't know. I mean, there's if you're talking about something like that, then, you know, I think of all my spiritual practices. I think of, you know, the business that we have. I think of, you know, my evolution with my relationship with Glen. I mean, there's lots of things that kind of fit that description. I think that when the question, the way it was asked before, it's like, do you regret anything? And I'm like, no, everything happened in divine timing, and I kind of understand that, and I love that and acknowledge that. Yeah, I mean, just even understanding the law of attraction and applying that and making my movies, like even that sometimes I don't know why I still get surprised. I'm like, I should know better. Of course this is going to happen. So yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. And sometimes people do say like, no, because like everything's happened in divine timing, and that's perfect too. I love it. Natalie,
and in hindsight, you can look back and go, yes, at the time I wasn't happy with it, but I'm really glad that it happened that way. And I could see why it had to happen that way.
Yeah. And that's spiritual wisdom and grace, knowing that things unfold the way they unfold. We may not like them in the moment, but we recognize in hindsight, like, oh yeah, of course it had to go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We've had a few of those conversations too, haven't we? Natalie, thank you so much. And I just really want to acknowledge and honor you for stepping into this big, bold vision. Like, I know in a decade, we are going to be celebrating some of the most extraordinary wins. We're going to be witnessing transformation in schools and in children who they're different. They're coming out more well-adjusted. They're coming with strengths and confidence and courage that they got because they got different tools in school. And I know you are going to be a huge part of the movement that helps make that happen. So I'm grateful that you said yes to the big vision and are going to be a part of that change in the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.